Welcome to Building My Legacy podcast. This podcast is designed for leaders and entrepreneurs who want to leave a legacy and will provide strategies that focus upon key elements for legacy creation, determining your desired impact and its benefit, increasing your legacy's reach by engaging key stakeholders, planning, prioritizing, and executing. Here's your host, Dr. Lois Sonstegard.
Welcome, everybody, to today's Building My Legacy podcast. I have with me Samantha Kozuch. She is a coach for entrepreneurs, for people who are really trying to grow their social media and to get a handle on how you can use it to be an influencer. So, Samantha, just so people get a sense as to who you really are, can you share your story and how you got started?
Sure. Hi, Lois. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. Super excited to be here and share so many tips along my journey. So I honestly first got started when Instagram and YouTube and Facebook just kind of started making appearance in our world that we live in today. So when I first got started, it was literally me just showing up and sharing my story, my process, what I was doing for myself in the health and fitness industry. And then from there, as I was just really just like posting and not really having a purpose to it, I didn't have a master plan of coming on the platforms, being an influencer. This is before what Instagram and Facebook and YouTube is today. But as I started just posting what I was doing for myself, others started coming to me asking me for help with their health and fitness and asking me, how did I get abs or how did I train in the gym? And when I was sharing my story, I didn't really know myself. I was actually following a lot of YouTubers at the time and really turning to fitness magazines when magazines were actually a thing. So from there, I really started to take on this entrepreneurial mindset of, okay, well, people are asking me for this and I'm just going to share more. And it got to a point where people were asking me the same questions all the time about health and fitness. And I was like, you know what? I'm honestly kind of tired of responding to the same question, texting it out on my phone or on a keyboard on YouTube, like sharing this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of see some other people creating like these programs and these methods of like sharing guides and things like that. So I started developing my own from there. And then from there, just started putting those out pretty much for free. And I started just cultivating this whole group of followers that I really didn't know what to do with. And from there, I just kind of educated myself and turned to YouTube. And at the time, it was really only like Tony Robbins and stuff like that. There wasn't all the personal development and business coaches that there are today. So I really had to do my own due diligence with learning how to, what to do with what I'd kind of created on quote unquote accident. And as I started doing this, I tapped more into social media and growing my influence and my business and selling now programs. And from there, people started coming to me asking me, hey, Sam, how did you grow your platform? How did you become a quote unquote, now the term influencer that had all of a sudden popped up a few years ago? Can you teach me how to do that too? So then I pivoted into teaching other fitness professionals and influencers how to monetize their social media accounts and how to grow it. And then fast forward after a year of doing that, other entrepreneurs and other business owners or people that wanted to step into business ownership came to me asking me, hey, I'm not an influencer, I'm not in fitness, but can you help me too? And for me, it's kind of like the same strategy for everyone across the board. So it's really easy for me to step into being an online business coach and social media strategist for entrepreneurs and business owners. And now fast forward to today, that is what I teach. I teach entrepreneurs how to use social media as a platform, as a funnel, as a list builder to grow, launch, and create their online programs, coaching programs, and physical products to monetize their social media accounts. So that is what I do today here in a nutshell.
So let's go to being an influencer, because I think there's some mystery that's involved with that in many people's. It's like being a celebrity, right? How do you become an influencer? And if somebody's going to think about it, let's talk about the top 5 things you should do. And then I want to talk about the top 5 mistakes you can make.
Oh, this is a really great question. So the top 5 things that you can do is when you do start posting on social media, like the whole purpose of being an influencer is, you're influencing people to do something. And in my world, the way that I teach is if you're influencing, you're making an impact to help people become better. And that's what I always preach to all of my students is, you're not just showing up. The whole point of influencing is to really help others grow, make an impact, and, teach them how to do something. So my first tip is when you do show up is really, you have to do a personal self-inventory of what are you good at? What is it that you want to share with the world? What is it that you want to help others achieve? You don't have to be an expert as far as like, you don't have to have a college degree or, have taken all the courses or anything like that. You really just have to be 2 steps ahead of somebody else as far as being able to teach them something. So my first thing is when us as business coaches say to niche down, it really does help you focus on what you want to post about and also just show up in that space only. So my first tip is to do that. Second one is when you do start wanting to become an influencer, is when you do niche down, stick to posting only about that topic. The fastest way to become an influencer is to be known for something specific. So whether that is you want to be in the fitness industry or you want to be a business coach or you want to be a Reiki healer or, whatever it is that you want to do, only post about that because that is the fastest way for your audience to like, know, and trust you as that person. And then from there, a couple more tips is to really post a lot of value, a lot of educational stuff. And it might seem like you're posting the same things over and over and over. And that is okay. That is actually a good thing because again, you're always going back to that like, no, trust factor of your audience. So the sooner that they see, for example, a lot of people now today, they will see my content and they will know it's me before they even see my name because they know the style of stuff that I teach, that I post about, etc. Fourth and fifth tip is to really, when you kind of figure out what it is that you want to post about, is to really dial in on some branding colors for you. And I know for some people, it's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter about your website and your branding colors and all that. And actually it kind of does because again, you want to show up on the platform. And as soon as, for example, in my case, I decided this year to do a mega rebrand for myself, choosing neon black, gray, and white, and maybe a little bit of blue for my colors. So a lot of people now come to me and be like, oh, as soon as they see on their Instagram a graphic or a picture of me with some text on it, and it's in the black or the neon yellow coloring, they know it's me again before they see my name. And that's how you kind of want to start associating yourself to grow yourself as an influencer in a certain niche. And then from there, we can talk a little bit about into like the monetization of becoming an influencer. But the main foundational piece of it is if you ultimately want to monetize your account as an influencer as far as collaborations and sponsorships and all that sort of stuff, is to really set yourself up as a business and really treat it as such. So from there, when you do outreach and all of that, you really want to focus on growing a following and a community that engages with you. So again, it goes all the way back. There's so much that goes into it, but the most basic parts is, to show up in your niche, add value, add content, engaging stuff that your followers want to learn from you, save it, comment on that, because then with that engagement, the statistics of that, you can then go to different brands and all that and position yourself as, hey, I'm, for example, if you're in the fitness space, I'm a fitness influencer. I have this kind of a following. They like this. They engage at this rate. I'd love to do a partnership with you and promote your products or services or whatever onto, your account and everything. So I would say those are kind of like the 5 main key things to really focus on when you're getting started.
I want to just continue that before we go into 5 of the mistakes or challenges that people can make. I want to look at monetization a little bit in terms of inviting people. So how is it that you select people that you want to partner with, and how do you approach them?
Great question. So for me personally, and everyone, with all the influencers I've talked with and I'm friends with, everyone's different, but here is my personal view and opinion, and the one that I preach, and I hope for others to do the same. When I go into partnership with different products, companies, services, it's always things that I actually use, that I believe in, and that I can put my name to and stand behind. A lot of times influencers will work with anyone and everyone because they're getting paid for it. But for me, that's a great short game. If you're just looking to show up on the platform and promote anything and everything, one, your audience will sniff you out in 2 seconds when you do that, when they know it's inauthentic. But for me, I've been in this for the long game. I know that anytime I share anything with my audience and promote anything or recommend anything, regardless if I'm actually getting paid or not, it is something that I full-heartedly believe in, I actually use, and that's my rule of thumb, because there have been many times over my 10 years of being on the platform where companies have come to me and they've wanted to pay me a lot of money, but it's a product that sucks. It's a product that I definitely wouldn't use. And it's something that I just don't feel ever aligned with, because at the end of the day, I truly believe in that, what goes around comes around. And I spent a lot of time in growing my audience and creating that like, know, and trust factor with them, that the last thing I would ever want is to, promote something to them that, that they might go out and buy and know, oh, this doesn't work, or this is crappy quality or whatever. And I'm here online saying, oh my God, it's so great and wonderful, and I use it. I just could never show up in that case. So that's kind of my...
ask you, as an influencer, what do you think about partnerships and getting people to be a part of what you do? What percentage of your income can you realistically think comes from those partnerships?
Well, it totally depends on the person. When I was strictly fitness influencing, I was making 6 figures as an influencer because I had built up my following. I had an incredible following, and the brands that I worked with, I did really strategic partnerships. So for example, I didn't go and promote 5 different fitness workout company brands. I worked with one, and we sat down and had a meeting and strategized, hey, I'm going to be a part of your brand. I'm going to shoot a lot of content for you. I'm in this for the long haul with you. So we had, yearly contracts. So you can be as strategic as you want with it, because at the end of the day, it just depends on how you treat it just like any other business.
Sure.
So that's kind of how I did it. But there are cases like, for example, now today as a business coach, right now to date, I have one partnership, but as I was moving into my new niche of just being a business coach, I was letting go of fitness partnerships because it no longer served my current audience. So it just depends on where you're at with your business. How much income do you desire to make from fitness influencing? And also, how does it tie back to your business as well? Because here's something to keep in mind. Usually when you have a contract with any sort of brand or company, there's always some sort of requirements, whether it's you have to post once a week, twice a week, 3 times a month. So how you want to make sure that, your feed or your monthly schedule of what you're posting about, for example, if I'm trying to, have a launch or sell my programs or products or et cetera, how much of the feed space and the story space is dedicated to my business versus somebody else's. So it's something to keep in mind as well, because some brands, they try to also take advantage of influencers and say, hey, you have to post every single day. You need to have our link in your bio, and you're basically a quote unquote slave to them. So you have to be smart and realistic with, okay, what are your goals? Is it to be a full-time influencer, which is great. A lot of people make a lot of money selling other people's products and none of their own. But if you're trying to grow your own business and have supplemental income, then just make sure when you go into those strategic partnerships, really take a look at, okay, what's required of me? How many other brands am I working with? What's realistic for me to show up in my authentic self and share my message versus somebody else's?
Okay, so now let's go back to where we started. 5 mistakes that you see people making all the time.
Oh my goodness, 5 mistakes. So the first one is because this is so apparent. I get tons of DMs to this day. So I'm sure other people are struggling with getting the same message and maybe getting caught up in it, is do not buy or automate anything with your social media. So that means do not buy followers, do not subscribe to any bots or anything that will perform any sort of engagement on your behalf. This is the fastest way to ruin your account. And so that is my biggest tip, is do not buy anything.
Why do you say it's the fastest way to ruin your account?
So Instagram now knows. So years ago, when bots were kind of first starting getting around, Instagram didn't, like, this was new. Like, Instagram didn't even really know how to handle this. But now Instagram has things in place where it knows when your activity is automated. It will, do things to your account. For example, it can block your account. It can cancel your account. So it's like you build up strikes against your account. So if you've done it in the past, or if you're currently doing it and you're listening to this podcast, I highly recommend, as soon as you're done listening, go delete and unsubscribe and cancel those automations, because there is a way to recover your account from that. It's going to take time to just like manually be a user of it. But yeah, so that is one of the biggest no-nos.
Okay. So that's number one. Number two.
So that's number one. And number two would be, so biggest mistake. So we've got on the bots, biggest mistake number two is the bio section. So with your bio, this is a big one that I see all the time. And regardless if you're a fitness influencer or anyone, business owner, make sure that your account has quick things that a new follower that comes across your account, that as soon as they land on your page, they know exactly who you are, who you serve, and what you do. The biggest no-no that I see is too many fluffy bio accounts. If you're trying to grow a business or be an influencer and you say, that you live in Arizona and that you are a tourist and that you love cappuccinos and that you have a puppy named Milo. I have a dog named Milo. But so if you have that kind of fluffy stuff in your bio account, you're not going to get new followers, because anyone new that comes to your account and sees that, they're going to think you're a quote unquote amateur account. So make sure that you look professional right off the bat, so that, for example, if I'm on Instagram and I'm, looking for a very heart-centered coach, or if I'm looking to launch a business, or if I'm looking for a fitness trainer with a specialty with women, and if I see that on someone's bio account and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I scroll down and I see, all their posts that have workouts and have value and can teach me things. It takes me 2 seconds to figure that out, and I'm going to click that follow button. So really make sure that you have that bio dialed in. So that's number two. Number three is, I would have to say, is the mistake of not using hashtags and thinking that hashtags don't work. Hashtags definitely do work, and it's going to help you be seen on the platform. So if anything, go watch a couple of videos. I have a couple even on my personal YouTube channel of teaching how to do hashtag research. You cannot just go in and post any sort of hashtag like hashtag love or hashtag follow for follow. No, those are not going to work. And also some hashtags are banned. So, and some really popular hashtags as well. So when you use those, your photos will never get seen. So make sure that you do some diligence on learning hashtag research, because that is the fastest way to get leverage using Instagram account and be seen on the explore page, on the search pages, on the hashtag aggregated pages, because today you can actually follow hashtags. So just because someone isn't following you, they could be following a hashtag like hashtag at home workouts, and your workout video or whatever it is that you post might show up in that person's feed, and then they see you and they're like, oh, actually I want to follow this person because they have really cool at home workouts. So really trying to leverage that and learn that part of the process is a really good idea. So that is number three. Number four is just posting anything and everything to your feed. Again, be strategic, really stick to your niche. I know that a lot of people, they want to share every single part of their life story, but if you're really trying to grow your Instagram account fast, if you're trying to become an expert, whether it's in your business as an influencer or anything, you have to be very strategic with what you post. And that is always thinking about your ideal client, your ideal avatar, your ideal customer. What do they want to see? What do they want to learn? What are they going to get value from? What are they going to share? What are they going to save? What are they going to bookmark? So really think about that. I would say if you want to really post about your family vacation or your dog or anything like that, use the stories. You can post anything on everything on stories. It's 24 hours, and you can bring people into your life that way. But I would strictly keep the feed as niched as possible, because again, remember, when that new person comes to your page for the first time and they read your bio and they like what they see, and then they see a bunch of content that they can learn from, that they can share, that they can bookmark, that's when you're going to win over new followers. So that is a big one, is be really strategic with your feed. And then number 5, the biggest mistake that I see is, this is a good one, not treating your highlights like a business. So again, if you are trying to grow your business, get more customers, selling influencer, treat your highlights like the menu section of your website. So you should have an about me. You should have a testimonials. You should have a how to work with you. You should have one about if you have a program, a product, a service, have a highlight talking all about that and how someone can work with you, how someone can enroll with you, how someone could buy from you. Have that. And then also some behind the scenes of you as either as an influencer or you as a coach or a business owner. Show behind the scenes of your office, show behind the scenes of your team, show how you work with people. Have you had any speaking engagements? Are you on any podcasts? Show people that when they consider working with you, how is it going to be? How is it going to feel? So really being strategic with those highlights. And again, not posting the fluffy stuff. Like, unless you're a fitness influencer, no one cares about your outfit of the day if you're trying to sell a coaching program or, just things like that. So be really strategic with your highlights as well, because at the end of the day, the overall biggest mistake that I see with people trying to be an influencer, trying to grow their business using Instagram, is they are just not treating it like a business. Like, if you want to just post anything and everything, go create a second account. Go create that if you want. But honestly, it takes a certain switch that really has to just like turn for you to be like, okay, is this going to make sense? The only thing I have to think about is this going to help my ideal client and customer? Is this going to help convert them from a no to a yes, or from a consideration standpoint to a purchase? Like, if you can say, yes, this is going to help someone, this is going to add value to someone's life, this is going to educate someone, this is going to convert somebody, then post it. If you cannot say yes to those questions, leave it for the stories or don't post it at all.
Got it. That's wonderful advice, actually. Wonderful. Tell me something. You talk about having an experience that really made you hone in on rituals and that allow you to be effective. Would you share a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I'd love to share this story. This is a story that I've actually just recently started sharing because I'm finally owning it. So I hope by sharing this to your listeners, maybe someone can resonate with this and help them step into their higher self and who they're truly meant to be and their purpose on this earth in this lifetime. So about 5-6 years ago, when I was getting started in influencing, I also had a video production company. So that was like my other side business. But I was doing really well for myself. Like, when I say I was, making 6 figures a year and, doing really well with all this stuff, I really was. And I was in my mid-20s and life was great. I lived a really good lifestyle and, it was the work hard, play hard mentality. And there was one night it was a typical weekend out with my friends. And I knew at that point in my life that I was meant for more. I was living in Arizona at the time, and I always had dreams of moving to LA, moving to California. Of course, I was a fitness influencer. I was in the fitness industry. I traveled a lot to LA and Vegas for work, for modeling and all this sort of stuff. But I was always too scared. But my inner self was always like, you need to move. You need to leave Arizona. It's time. You're a big girl now. Like, you can escape. You can get out of this nest, not escape, but just like move, make the big move. And I just kept ignoring it because I was like, life is good. Like, I'm doing well. I'm doing great. I'm having fun. Why? I'm too scared. I also saw a lot of my friends try to move to LA and they came back within less than a year because it was too expensive. They failed. They couldn't, quote unquote, make it. And that was also for me like, oh my gosh, like, why should I go try? Life is good. Why should I go try and do something where there's a big chance I'm going to fail and come back and be, ashamed of that failure? So all this is happening. This has been going on for a couple months now. And I went out one night, typical weekend out. And so we're at a bar drinking with a bunch of my girlfriends and stuff. And I all of a sudden had started not feeling good. And this was very early in the evening. Like at that age, I could party for a very long time, drink a lot. It was no big thing. But immediately after drink number 2, I was like, I got to go. So I went to the back of the bar to the door guy, which was a good friend of mine. I knew everyone in that city anyways. Typical weekend out. I was like, hey, I don't feel good. Like, I just need to go home. I need to get put in a cab. Like, can you just get me a cab? He didn't really think anything of it because he's used to me always like being around and being the, oh, Sam party girl, whatever. He put me in a cab. I go to my apartment, which is literally 4 minutes away from this place, and pull in. And that's where a lot of things get very blurry very quickly. What I do remember is I didn't have my purse or wallet to pay for this literally $5 cab ride home. And the cab driver got was really upset and mad that I wouldn't, quote unquote pay. But I was just at this point, so very much out of it. And he called the cops, and the cops came. Noticed that I did not have any money on me, which at that point, I left it at the bar because I ran out of there so quick. And I was arrested. And it was one of the most shameful things that's ever, there's a lot of stuff that's happened to me, but that was one of those moments where I was like, when I came to the next day, because I had to go to jail for the night, I was like, what? This isn't me. This isn't supposed to be me. This is I couldn't believe what had happened and how I had let this happen. At the same time, it was one of those moments where it's wow, that was probably one of the best case scenarios that could have happened to me. Keeping in mind, I was probably roofied or something like that, because that was a situation that I'd never felt before in all my years of just out drinking, partying, etc. And at that moment, that's when I decided I need a change and I need to get out of here, because that could have happened. Things could have been so much worse that night. And that was my quote unquote wake up call. And after that, I really started diving into the power of manifestation. I had read and watched The Secret, and I'd really started tuning more into Tony Robbins, those things that really okay, you imagine more for yourself. This was your awakening. And then I kind of thought about how everything had panned out as far as, hey, you'd had this pull to leave and you didn't. So guess what? The universe is always going to come back and hit you with something to wake you up and have you realize, hey, this could have been worse. It wasn't, but are you going to change? And are you going to, make a new life plan for yourself? Because you need to go chase that dream and goal. So within a month, I had literally sold everything, packed my bags. I had moved to LA. I literally only knew 2 people in the city. And from there, I was able to quote unquote start over. I was able to be in a city where I didn't know anyone. I was able to design my dream life. I was able to really cultivate, okay, what is it that I want for myself? I already knew what I had in the past. I was tired of partying. Yeah, it was fun, but it's not what I wanted. I knew I wanted to help more people. I knew I wanted to grow a really successful business. I knew I wanted to just do more. So from there, I just started writing down every single day, what I wanted for myself. What did I want it to look like, to feel like, to sound like, how I wanted to be, how did I want to behave and show up in the world? So with that, I just started doing that every single day. And I started also making some vision boards and everything. And after a month of doing this, I started noticing little things come to fruition. So for example, for the first few months, I was living on one of the girls that I knew in LA, her couch. And this is one of my favorite stories to tell, because on my vision board, I actually have it right up here behind me on the wall still. You guys can't see it on the video, but I had put the Hollywood sign. But when I was searching for apartments and I wanted to live in Santa Monica, California, that was my dream, right on the beach. And I was going out looking every single day out in Santa Monica, looking at apartments, could not find anything that I liked. It was really hard to find apartments at that time too. There was about like 5 to 10 people at each listing. Literally, like it was just a disaster. And I had about 2 more days before I started this really big contract here in LA. And my girlfriend that I was staying with, she says, hey, I know you don't want to live in Hollywood, but why don't you try and just go see a couple places? Like, what is going to hurt? You're already doing all this other work. Like, you're not finding anything. Try this. So I was like, okay, I guess I will go and try. So we looked at 3 places, and the third place that day that I was able to go see, walk into the apartment. It was a gorgeous 2-bedroom apartment. And I walked in, and it was that instant feeling of, oh, wow, this is incredible. This is it. And then I walked into the master bedroom, and I opened up the patio door. It was a balcony. And literally right outside the window there was the Hollywood sign in like clear, plain sight. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy, because every single day I've been scripting out what I want my life to look and feel like. And I'm looking at this vision board where I literally have the Hollywood sign, a picture of that. And I've been looking at it every single day. So it was like, literally at that moment, I laughed. Like I literally laughed, because I'm like, funny universe. Like here I am. I've been spending a couple months looking in Santa Monica, but in reality, like I'd been, creating this vision for myself to live here. So that was my first kind of like big, like aha moment with this. So from there, I had been using this process for like the last 5 years, and it's just literally, it just keeps getting better and better. And it's becoming such a process. It's called the Maniscripting Method, that it's almost dangerous, because as soon as I like write a thought or think it like happens like that. So it's a really fun method to have.
So can you share, basically give an overview of what that process is?
Yeah. So Manuscripting Method starts off with first meditation. So it's a guided meditation for about 10 minutes, or, I always say for whatever you are comfortable with. If you're just getting started, maybe 5 minutes is a lot. Maybe you can do 20 or 30, but ultimately it's a method that as soon as you wake up, you go into this morning routine. And the reason for that is because when you wake up, you have a fully quote unquote clean slate. So it's usually before you pick up your cell phone or you check an email, or even if you have a significant other, or if you live with somebody or have kids or anything, it's that time before you really engage with anybody, because that is the most powerful time for you to be in this, I want to say this quote unquote vortex that you can create for yourself and how you set up the rest of your day. So first thing you want to step into is sit down and do meditation. After that, you go straight into the Manuscripting Method journaling, which is writing out your desire at least 10 times in a row and acting as if it's already happened. So for example, if you're trying to get more customers in your business, or if you're trying to find the love of your life, or if you're trying to lose weight, you would write something along the lines of, I'm so grateful that I have lost 25 pounds this month, or I am so grateful that I had a $25,000 launch in my business this past month. So you want to have that one sentence and write it out 10 times. And the power of 10 is that's what really connects you to that higher consciousness level. There's a power of 10, and there's that behind that. And then after that, you would just sign it with thank you, thank you, thank you. And that is it. And then you would just kind of like whatever else you want to incorporate with that, with either saging or Palo Santo or your crystals, anything like that. And usually what I also do is pull like an oracle card or an angel card just to give me my message for the day. So the power in doing this first thing in the morning is because when you have that clean slate, and this is the first thought you put in your head, is writing this over and over and over, you're feeling it, you're acting as if you are so happy, you're excited. And the first couple of times of doing this, you're probably going to feel kind of weird. I've been doing this for about 5 years now. So for me, it's like, I love doing it. But when I teach someone new and they kind of like report back to me and say, hey, this is kind of feeling weird. Like I feel kind of dumb doing this. Yeah, it's going to feel that way because it's new and you're now training your subconscious to feel this way. So the power in doing it first thing in the morning is you're programming your brain and your subconscious to then whatever else comes later that day you're going to subconsciously make decisions referring back to that first initial thought that you've had and that you've set for yourself. So for example, if you are trying to lose weight, if you start the day with, I'm so grateful that I lost 25 pounds, and maybe later at lunch, you're like, you have dessert right in front of you over a salad or something else, you're going to think back, you're going to subconsciously probably make the decision to go for example, the healthier meal option versus the donuts, because you've already set yourself up for that day of, hey, I'm losing 25 pounds this month or whatever, that is for you. So you're making those subconscious decisions. And the same thing goes for business. And you're starting in that positive mindset, because how many times do we wake up in the morning and most of us, we're using our cell phones as our alarm or something like that. And the first thing you see is a text message that comes in that might be negative, or an email that comes in, or something on Instagram that just makes you upset or whatever. We start off with all this like outside negative energy for the most part. And when you start off in that mindset first thing in the morning, it's so hard to get out of that. Like, you can be the most professional manifestor or the most professional, stepping into your higher abundance and your positivity and all that. But still, if you're starting off the day in that state, it's really hard to just get out of it. And why even start, if you have a choice, why start off in that space versus, starting off in something that's really going to benefit you, help you grow, help you accelerate in your career, your business, your life goals, by doing like something like the Manuscripting Method.
Samantha, our time is going very fast. And so I just want to ask you in closing, anything we've missed that you think is really important for people to know about, or that you're passionate about, that you want to share before we leave for this podcast?
Yeah. So I just want to tell everyone listening to this that, you are truly the creator of your life. No matter where you are at right now in your life, your business, you can change it. And it doesn't take a lot to change it. It just takes baby little steps. So if you are looking to make a transformation, whether you think that you're stuck living in a certain city and you want to move, or if you're in a certain business or career path and you want to change it, do it. Listen to your intuition. It is so powerful. We are programmed and trained from a very young age to ignore it and think, oh, stop listening to the crazy thoughts in your head or in your heart or in your gut. No, that is really your intuition speaking to you to make a change, and you have the power to do that. And I highly recommend, if anyone does want to make that change, connect with me on Instagram, connect with me. I have some Facebook groups as well. The Manuscripting Method is truly a really great place to get started, especially if you're still trying to kind of figure out what it is that voice is trying to tell you before things go bad. Because I know that when you ignore your intuition, it's usually those tragic stories that I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. Mine was, getting arrested and having to deal with all of that mess. But at the same time, that's what got me to wake up and have me take charge of my life versus having, just being in this like state of, oh, whatever, life is good, life is fun. So I just recommend you, and I preach, you have the power to change whatever it is that you are going through and to step into that higher self.
Samantha, on that note, thank you so much for being with us on Building My Legacy podcast today. Samantha, you have been wonderful. And for those of you who are listening, we will put some of this information in the show notes so you will know how to reach Samantha should you want to. And if you want further information, just let us know and we will get you in contact as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lois.
You've been listening to Building My Legacy podcast with Dr. Lois Sonstegard. To book your appointment with Dr. Sonstegard, visit www.buildtomorrow.com.